Jeff Fuller with you, Jay Fuller Interviews. Jay Fuller Interviews on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And joining us now is Tim Messier. Tim, how are you?
Not bad. How are you today?
I'm glad we finally made it work and have you on. Now, I shared or attempted to share last time that I'm probably pretty arrogant, or I am arrogant. And I remember when you coached the boys basketball team at Lamoille, I said, whoa, this coach knows what he's doing. Whereas, quite frankly, I didn't think any other Vermont high school coach knew what they were doing. Where did your love of coaching come from?
Well, that's very kind of you. I know there were days when I was coaching, particularly early in my career at Hayes and Union, where I didn't think I knew so much. But I came around with a love for the game from my dad, who was a longtime coach here. Basketball was my primary sport. Quite frankly, was not very good at soccer or baseball. I joke with people about baseball all the time that I made it to the minor leagues, and they give me this wild look, and I explain, no, I mean minor leagues, the one before Little League. Uh, so basketball was my concentration and was my passion ever since I was a little kid.
Tim, how long have you been at Lamoille?
Just finished my 28th year. Next year will be the 29th year.
Well,
Hoping we can get
congrats.
back to school here in about a month. We'll see what's in store for us.
For sure. And then this picture, you're part of the VBCA Hall of Fame. And you just talked a little bit about how much your dad meant to you. Could you just talk about his influence on your life?
Sure. When I was younger, he and my mom moved over here when Lamoille Union opened up. So I really grew up on campus and particularly in the gym. The players were awesome to me. I get to go on the road trips as I got older. And then I just absolutely loved the game. And we talked the game, we watched the game. I was fortunate enough to go to clinics out of state and the coaching brother and sisterhood. And all those colleagues. I've just been around basketball my whole life, and those coaches like Bob Rowe, Danny Gandon. There were just so many people he was always around, and I was
Yeah.
afforded that opportunity to learn and grow and to see how much the game meant to them and to generations of players as I was just a spectator and the coach's kid running around the gym.
And when were you named to the Hall of Fame?
Uh, I can't remember exactly. To be honest, it was an incredible honor. I was particularly pleased that my dad had been a previous honoree and that I could be mentioned with his name and the many other amazing coaches that are in the Hall of Fame. It's, like I said, just an incredible honor, but more so of a tribute to my coaching staffs and my players and the community over the years as well, who were quite supportive.
Now, I should have double checked my research, but isn't it true you have both a boys and a girls state championship coaching basketball?
No, just on the girls' side, we were fortunate to win 3 times. On the boys' side, we lost a time to Virginia in the 5 years ago.
And I think you're still with me. Froze up a little bit, but I remember when Jason Jones, he had an injury. He
Yeah.
either broke his wrist or broke his foot, but that was a big loss for the team. How, as a coach, did you continue to motivate the kids without one of your best players?
Well, it's all about togetherness and unity and the next person stepping up. And that's why practices are so important and significant. And team time is incredibly significant offered as well. You have that unity, that love of the game and of one another. And if one of your brothers or sisters goes down with an injury or an illness, the next person step in and try to get the job done.
Now, do you miss coaching?
There is where I miss coaching, but when I became the athletic director a number of years ago, to do that job and to do it right, there was just not enough hours in the day to
Hmm.
be a good athletic director, a good coach, a good person, a good friend. So I had to step away. I've had a chance to help out with some of the teams coaches will bring me in now and then, which is an incredible honor and opportunity. So I'll do some work there. And I still like to travel around the state and watch games when time allows. With an AD schedule, it isn't often, but I listen to a lot of games, and we host a holiday tournament. And obviously, I get to see the teams that come to Lamoille. So I'm still watching a lot of basketball.
Now, I have to be careful how I say this, but I enjoyed X's and O's high school boys basketball, but I enjoy personalities a lot of times high school girls basketball. Could you just talk about how you adjusted so well from coaching the boys to coaching the girls?
Well, I had coached freshman basketball, JV here, then a couple of years stint at Hazen where I was older than the players, but we had a really good 2 years. And then, the rest is history for that program with Coach Pratt coming in afterwards, and then Aaron Hill and the tremendous program they have there. But coaching both boys and girls, I think there are a couple differences. But there are more similarities than differences. I think the one area that I've noticed is that if there's an underclassman boy who has a chance to snag a spot and bump an upperclassman, they're going to do everything they can to do that. And on the ladies' side, there's this tendency that, and I have to work my to really put in the rear view, but where they'll sometimes defer
Yeah.
and quote unquote wait their turn. And I saw that more often on the ladies' side with the young men. But once you let them know that, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and attitude, effort, and desire shouldn't ever be put on the back burner in life, say anything about sports, I tried to find ways to motivate them so that they didn't feel like they were betraying one of their sisters on the court by maybe taking their starting spot or their minutes. It's all about unity and team building and sacrifice. And you never know when it's going to be your time when the coach looks down the bench and says, get out there, we need you.
Yeah, that's so good. And something that you guys certainly have is that rivalry game between People's Academy. Could you just talk about, as a coach, what the rivalry meant, and now as an athletic director, how you have to certainly stay on top of some things?
Being very good friends with Todd Yando from Peoples for my whole life, and that relationship stemmed from the relationship of Joe Yando and my dad over the years. I got to watch the rivalry as a youngster, go to those packed gymnasiums, and then I participated in it, and then participated in it as a boys coach and a girls
Yeah.
coach. It's just incredible. It's one of the best rivalries in the state. It's an honor to be a part of it. I think it may have been a little easier to deal with as a coach because I was there to coach that team, boys or girls, and that was my singular focus, is to try to get the W with them. Whereas the AD role is now, okay, how are we going to pack those gymnasiums? How are we going to get everyone to conduct themselves appropriately? And how can we help balance that huge desire to win that game with keeping it in perspective in the realm of sport and life? Everyone wants those bragging rights for the week after a PA Oil game. But the game is bigger than just a rivalry game. And in the last few years, I've really relished the fact that fans, students, community members from both schools hang out afterwards and really treat each other in a respectful fashion, and realize that we are brother and sister communities right next door, and it's better to keep things in perspective than to put all eggs in one basket about the outcome of that
Yeah,
game.
let's
But I know everyone wants those bragging rights. I know I did as a coach. It's important to try to get that W, but rivalries seem to grow each and every year with other schools as well.
Tim, let's stay in the thread of being an athletic director. How did you feel specifically for the seniors that were unable to participate in spring sports?
Actually, really hit home in the winter season in regards to those championship efforts and semifinal efforts that didn't come into fruition. I know how hard those coaches work. I know how hard those student athletes work. I know how hard the parents and guardians and communities work from the time these kids are born to bring them along, support co-curricular, extracurricular activities, and you hope to get to a point where you're playing on the quote unquote last day. That was always our
Yeah.
goal. We want to be one of the two teams playing at the last opportunity. And when the pandemic took place and put in a premature end to the winter season and then the eventual spring season, it really was heartbreaking for all. It's easy for me to say as a 52-year-old that, we learn through adversity, and those are life lessons through athletics. But it is still very difficult to not be able to see the student athletes in action, both near the end of the winter season and then obviously the spring season this year.
And so I believe it was the VPA pushed back the fall practice to the beginning of school. There's a petition I've been made aware about of some parents, others wanting to practice August 10th. What are your thoughts?
Could you repeat that question, Jeff? You broke up a little bit.
Yeah, I apologize about that. The thought of practicing August 10th versus the beginning of the school year. Your thoughts?
Actually, this season was going, I believe, August the 13th, a Thursday. Football starting a little bit earlier. Then there was a move to move it to the 10th to try to maybe make up for some lost time with no spring season. And now, at the state and national level, the VPA has made a decision to try to tie the first day of practice to the first day of school where you have in-person learning taking place, which may differ from school to school and district to district. I certainly understand that decision. I understand the angst of the folks with the petition, but there are just the only that's certain nowadays is uncertainty. And I'm hopeful that when we have our first day of school here at Memorial Union, which should be August the 24th, I'm hoping to be extremely busy the week before with in-service around COVID and athletics and restarting school in general. And I hope on the 24th, the fields here are filled with soccer players, that our football players are headed to Fairfax, cross-country running's taking place, golf, and then for other schools that have volleyball and field hockey. I think every athletic director has that same goal to have those kids out there and participating, and I know the coaches feel the same way.
Yeah, and I'm a big basketball fan, so we'll return to the other sports, but I understand your gymnasium is getting a big renovation. Could you just share about that?
Sure. I actually had to move from my office to the vice principal's office to do this interview because it's rather loud in that area of the school right now. COVID, there was some advantages as far as construction in that once work crews were allowed to have a certain number, they got an early start on the gym. Right now, though, is the part of the job. The floor has been torn up, and the subsurface, which is an asphalt type material, is now being removed. And it is a loud, gritty, tough job. A friend of mine's working on the project, and it is. There's nothing easy about what's going on in that gym right now.
Hey, Tim, when you think about this upcoming season, without fans, is that likely what's going to take place?
I think it's too early to speculate. I have chatted briefly with my coaches that may be one of the variables that basketball games take place with only certain personnel allowed. Perhaps it'll be immediate family only. It would be a shame for everyone because basketball is such a spectator oriented. Be a particular bummer here in that we wouldn't have an opportunity to showcase our amazing brand new gymnasium. The gymnasium and the bleachers and the side backboards were all original to the opening of the school in '67.
Wow.
And there's just tremendous amount of work that's going in. It's a tribute to our community to approve the bond, and it is going to be in a beautiful, amazing place. And as much as I might have griped earlier about the number of fans and fan conduct in our rivalry games or any games. Maybe I'll regret saying this later, but I can't wait for that gymnasium to be full to capacity.
Tim, what happens when you have a coach that has to be dismissed or replaced? As the athletic director, how do you walk through those details?
Did you say if we had to discipline a coach?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
either discipline or replace.
Um, Probably the most difficult, challenging part of being an athletic director. Um, no coach steps forward to have anything other than the intention of succeeding with their team, building a team, representing the community. And there are times where the community may not be as patient as I would like. I try to be supportive of coaches, but having been a coach and had ups and downs for sure, and being coming from a coaching family where you literally experience the thrill and agony of defeat, it's difficult to please everyone all of the time. So I think the emphasis needs to be on trying to please student athletes. But there are other times where the pressures and the issues mean that it's time to make a change. And it's heartbreaking. It's brutal for all involved, and is probably the most challenging, least favorite part of my position is having to make a change at a coaching position.
Definitely.
As far as discipline, really haven't had to have a lot of that. The key is communication and presence. Work with your coaches, you chat with them. No one is perfect. I'm certainly not a perfect athletic director. I wasn't a perfect coach, but the key is communication between coach and student athlete, and finding a way to fix a scenario where someone's toes may have been stepped on. Quite frankly, in overall, student athletes work hard. They want to do well for their teammates, their coaches, and their community, and their family. And the same is true for coaches.
Tim, could you just share what the relationship has been like with Northern Vermont University, Johnson State, in your backyard? Has that been helpful? I know with NCAA rules, some things are difficult to talk about, but is it nice for your kids to be able to see Johnson State players and athletes?
It has really taken a positive turn for the better in the past 10 to 20 years, in that I was friends, Coach Charlie Mason. Uh, I'm close friends with Mike Osborne, who's now at
Yeah.
CVU. Um, Greg Davis, who is now our girls varsity coach, is a Northern Vermont University grad. And we really have some great connections there, not only with basketball, but with their graduates, having the opportunity to come here and work with our other programs as well. It's definitely something that I think needs to be strengthened institution wide. I think Lamoille Union has a lot to offer Northern Vermont University, and vice versa. And once we get through this COVID time and know what schools are going to look like, we members of both institutions have talked about trying to find a way to be more united in simple fashion, as going to their athletic events and co-curricular events and being supportive, and vice versa. And then maybe giving those who might want to be a teacher or a coach the opportunity to come work with our youth here at Lamoille Union.
Tim, could you just share with me Lamoille Union schools in Vermont? A student could be closer to Lamoille but still attend People's Academy. How do union schools in Vermont select their students, not just student athletes?
Sure. I've always thought that community schools have a bit of an advantage in the fact that their student athletes are participating in sports, growing up together in small knit communities, from kindergarten on. So I think that sense of knowing your teammates, knowing your family, knowing your neighbors might be stronger, and that might translate into a more unified um, connection as they come up through school. Our elementary schools participate against one another in athletic sport. They come to middle, and that's why the seventh and eighth grade is so significant. They're coming from all the feeder towns. They come together, and for the first time, their neighbors from other towns are now in the same school, participating on the sports teams. So it's really significant that we try to take away some of those territorial issues
Yeah.
that might have been built in rivalry games and elementary school, and try to build some unity in the middle school that will carry over into their 9 through 12 experience. And our middle school does a great job with that. It's a strong middle school, and the athletic program is strong. And they really start to learn the unity of Lamoille County in those seventh and eighth grade opportunities.
That's really good. Tim Messier, athletic director at Lamoille Union, make some time. I'll get you out on this question. What does your summer vacation look like?
Well, around 20 years ago, the principal came to me and said, "Hey, Tim, would you coordinate summer school this year?" Apparently, I didn't read the fine print, or I was a glutton for punishment. So I've done summer school every year for the past 20 years. It's actually been a great experience, but it keeps me very busy. Even this year, in a remote fashion, we have a decent enrollment. So I'm hoping for some time at the early part of August to get away. I'm not sure what that will look like with travel restrictions and COVID. It might be a staycation. But right now, prep for the fall, summer school, and the gymnasium project are keeping me busy. I have a decent routine, work-life balance right now, which I think is particularly important in COVID times. But we'll see what happens with COVID and where I can travel. But the ocean is calling. I do like the Hampton Beach and Old Orchard area in Maine, so hopefully I can have the opportunity to get there.
Yeah, well deserved, and hopefully you have a great rest of the summer. Tim, thanks so much for making the time today.
You're most welcome. Thank you for doing this. It's an honor, and you've had some incredible personalities and coaches on there. And I hope folks through this venue have a chance to realize what an amazing foundation of coaches from the high school to the
Yeah.
collegiate to the professional level that Vermont has shared with the world. And I share your passion for basketball and appreciate you doing this, and wish you the absolute best as well.
Thanks so much. Again, Tim Messier makes some time from Lamoille Union High School and VBCA Hall of Fame member. So good to have these guys on, and so good to have you joining Jay Fuller Interviews, where you can find more Jay Fuller interviews on YouTube. Subscribe, get this interview, share it, get others, and know that we have some others, great ones coming up. Thanks again.